And then he addresses towards the end of chapter 3 and into chapter 4 the idea that the Besorah of the gospel is for all people, regardless of their background. There's neither Jew nor Greek nor male nor female. We talked about the issue of status. Obviously, Paul's not arguing against status distinctions, because there's other places where he actually addresses women. He addresses Jewish people. He addresses Gentiles. So he's not arguing against this, but he's saying, look, from the perspective of faith and from the perspective of the community of faith, the Kahilah, the assembly, the church, we are all one in Messiah Yeshua. And then the real issue, I think the priority, the one that we see in chapters 5 through 6 really had to do with the issue of the priority of people. We have to prioritize people and not just formalities. In fact, I'm just going to begin and want to go back and think about Galatians 5:22. And what is the sign of the new covenant? Going back to Jeremiah's prophecy, it's the Spirit, right? And what does the Ruach do? What is the role of the Holy Spirit? And you go back and you read about this in the life of a believer. It's the same thing that the Torah functions as, in a sense. But it's taking the Torah and internalizing it and putting it on the human heart. The Torah was given on Shavuot for the purpose of bringing sanctity, holiness into the life of a person. And it's the Holy Spirit that's poured out on Shavuot after Yeshua's crucifixion. And a part of the Holy Spirit is bringing sanctification into the life of a believer. And in Galatians 5:22, just going to go back and read that, and it's important. Yeshua said, you will know a tree by its fruit. Is that right? And he's to say, look, there's a bad tree that doesn't produce fruit, and then there's a good tree that produces fruit. He says, you will know a tree by its fruit. And here's the issue. Paul's saying you can know whether or not a person is walking in the Spirit because people are trees, and the type of fruit that they produce is how you can know it. By the way, it's not ceremonial formalities that you're going to be able to recognize whether or not somebody is walking in the Spirit or not. It's not how they keep Shabbat. It's not how they celebrate the Moedim. It's not. Those are not the things that Paul goes back to. This is what he says. But the fruit of the Spirit in verse 22 is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness or meekness, self-control. And against such as these, there is no Torah. There's no law against it. By the way, we've talked about this term under the Torah, and Paul uses it in a couple of different ways. Sometimes it just has to do with Jewish status and identity. Other times, though, it has to do with being under the condemnation of the Torah. And I think that that's what Paul's after here. And so I'll just jump in and we look at Galatians 6. Galatians 6. Just want to read this text as we think about this. And Paul's trying to bring this all together. And he's bringing it, and what is the consequence, again, of misunderstanding how we relate to coming to faith in Messiah Yeshua? What is the consequence of thinking that we have to convert to Judaism? That we have to change our status as a person? What is the consequence of that? And there's a couple of things. First of all, it brings about pride and arrogance. Pride and arrogance is one thing, and